What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here coming back at y'all to wrap up the week. Friday, May 21st, the final 2-minute drill of the week. Before we get started, man, make sure to just pause this video. Go check out our Keel Glass interview, which dropped yesterday. Y'all are supporting it so well right now. We appreciate it. Shout out to Akil again for coming on the podcast. It was an absolute blast. So shout out to everyone who was involved in that, man. But we have a storyline. I want to thank Josh Pate from 247 giving us this idea, man. And I think, Brandon, we should do an overrated list, but I feel like that video won't do very well because there's just going to be a bunch of pissed off fans rather than a bunch of fans happy that we're talking about their team. But guys, today we're going to be talking about the most underrated teams in each Power 5 conference. So before we start, the criteria for underrated might be a little different than you're used to. This doesn't have to be a team projected to only win like 3 games this year. So you can pick a top 25 team, a top 15 team, if you feel like they're not getting the respect that they deserve in terms of just the national media, the fan perception, and things like that. So we're going to go conference by conference in alphabetical order. Me and Brandon are going to give you our most underrated team in that conference, give you some reasons why, some things to look forward to. So, Brandon, kicking it off, the ACC. What team in the ACC do you think is the most underrated team in the conference?
So I kind of projected my pick, I think, a couple episodes ago. It was an episode this week, but it's a team that I think a lot of people are really overlooking this season because they think last year was kind of a blip on the radar. I think Miami's going to come back and have a pretty good year, and I think they're going to be a lot better than people are expecting. Derek King's coming back, but he is coming off of that ACL tear, so we don't know if he's going to start immediately or if he's going to be limited or not play at all in the first couple games. But behind him, we do have Tyler Van Dyke. This kid has a huge arm. I think he was a 4-star coming out of high school. And he has a ton of upside, and people just aren't talking about him enough, mainly because he might not play at all. But he could take Derek King's spot as a starter on this Miami team. Another thing to look at is Tennessee transfer DeAndre Johnson, edge rusher, and he's going to help a ton with this Miami defense that was somewhat lackluster last season. I think he improves this defense a lot. It makes Miami like a legitimate threat, in that front seven. And the last thing that really is kind of iffy here, but last thing that made me think that Miami might live above expectations this upcoming season is that Manny Diaz is going into his 3rd season, Zach. And what does he have to show for it here in Miami? His first season was terrible. He went toe-to-toe with Florida in that first game. I'll never forget that game. Hated that game. Went toe-to-toe with Florida, lost that game, then had a lackluster season thereafter. Last year, they won 8 games, sure. They looked pretty good, but they couldn't pull off the big victories. So this season, I don't want to put him in the hot seat quite yet, but if he has another season like he did in his first year, he's 3 years in, Zach. You don't think that he could potentially be seeing the hot seat at some point? So
I'm pretty sure one of us, I don't remember who, I'll have to go back and look, going into last year, put him potentially on the hot seat after the loss to Louisiana Tech.
It might have been me. It sounds like me. But yeah, I think that he is a good coach, and he has. I think he's fully equipped to bring this team back if he wants to. So I could definitely see Manny Diaz being a driving force behind this team overperforming.
I like that pick, man. I'm not going to lie. I considered Miami here, but this is the pick. Me and him didn't divulge any of our picks before the show. I did tell you that there was one team that you're going to be like, of course he picked them. It's this pick, Brandon. It's the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. What's up? What's wrong with this pick?
Everyone's so high on Georgia Tech for next season. I don't get it.
I love them. Listen, all I got to say is 2 names, Brandon. Jeff Sims at quarterback and Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. And I really only need one of those names, and that's Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. This kid, Brandon, I think going into the season, he might be my favorite player in the country.
That's wild.
I mean, just to watch. Okay, so listen, I feel like a hypocrite. He's my favorite player to watch, but I honestly, I didn't even have him in my top 5 running backs right now, Brandon. I had him 6th. So I feel kind of bad there, but there's a lot of good running backs in the country. But I think that he's kind of due for a breakout year, and he can be one of the best running backs in the country going into his junior year. Jeff Sims was probably the best, I would say, Brandon, overall quarterback Georgia Tech has had in years. In just terms of, especially from the shift of the option offense to just more of the spread attack, they have a lot of offensive weapons that are coming back. The defense is returning a lot of pieces. The defense cost them so many games last year, Brandon. They matched their win total with 3 last year, but what happens if it's a normal year, Brandon, and they get those 2-3 cupcake games? You're talking about a Georgia Tech team who's fighting for a bowl game, and I don't think anyone ever saw that. I think this team, a lot of people are projecting like a 4-3 win team. I think they're going to get to bowl eligibility. They have a chance to go 7-5, Brandon, in my opinion. I mean, they get some of their tougher games at home, Brandon. They get North Carolina having to come to Atlanta. They get Virginia Tech. They get Pitt. They get Georgia all coming to Atlanta, where on the flip side, if those games are on the road, you're talking about some of the toughest environments to play in the country. It's a huge advantage. They have 3 tough road games, Brandon. They got Notre Dame and Clemson on the road, and they have your pick, Miami, on the road. But other than Clemson, really and truly, Notre Dame has a lot of questions surrounding that team with a lot of losses. And Miami, I have questions too. Can they reach their potential? You mentioned the transfer they got. Replacing Quincy Roche and Jalen Phillips is not going to be an easy task.
When Quincy Roche didn't play last season, it's not that. I mean,
I'm talking about going into the season, they thought they were going to have They thought they were going to have Gregory Rousseau, Jalen Phillips, and Quincy Roche.
Right.
That's tough to lose all 3 of those. So I'm interested to see how De'Aaron King plays. But Brandon, the thing that I want to see De'Aaron King do is, can he play big in the big games? We never saw that. He played great against all these teams that really didn't do much, but then what happened when he had to go to Death Valley, Brandon?
Nothing good.
Nothing good. Listen, I love Jeff Collins as the head coach here at Georgia Tech. I think everything is on the upswing, and I think they're probably one of the most overlooked teams in the country, and especially the ACC. So I'm going with Georgia Tech here. Brandon's going with Miami as the 2 most overlooked or underrated teams in the ACC. But let's get to the Big Ten, man. I know who Brandon's going to pick here, because if he picked anyone else, I would just assume that he was an imposter on the other side of the screen. Brandon, tell us why Wisconsin is the most underrated team in the Big Ten.
They are, Zach, and I get it. They're ranked 16th in the country right now, but they deserve to be way higher than that. This team is going to finish top 10. I'm sticking with it. I still think they're a playoff team. I really do. Graham Mertz, I'm back on the train. I'm the conductor. I need a hat. But not only that, I mean, Graham Mertz, he had his ups and downs, a lot of downs last season. I really, truly do think he's going to have a bounce back here, and he's going to show out and show us the quarterback that he can truly be. But not only that, Zach, I mean, he's not even the best player on this offense. And it's not even the O-line that's going to be the best position on this offense this year. I truly think that Jake Ferguson, their tight end, is the best player on the offense. This kid is an absolute stud. He's a junior. I could see him being in Wisconsin for 4 years, so he might have another year ahead of him. And he's looking to make a statement. Not only that, but this Wisconsin defense is coming back at full strength, led by their linebacking core, if nothing else. And that's obviously led by Leo Chenal and Jack Sanborn, both inside linebackers, both absolutely nasty. So this defense is going to be incredible too. And then lastly, Zach, the running backs are back for Wisconsin. We have Jalen Berger coming in, true freshman, might be the next great Wisconsin running back. I guess we'll just have to wait to see.
Yeah, I mean, he played well in limited action last year, Brandon. He wasn't really the go-to guy, but I guess, as a true freshman last year, he gets to be a true freshman again, technically, with some experience. So that's good. man, you keep giving that boy Graham Mertz he can't hold on to the trophy. He can't beat anyone other than Michigan and Illinois. Like what do you want from this kid?
I mean, he's the GOAT. What do you want me to say? Jack Cohen
Jesus.
transferred out because he said, you know what? There's no way I can get this spot back.
Because he's also pretty bad.
Do I?
He's also really bad.
Well, that's your opinion, Zach.
Listen, I'll pick a better team and a team with a better quarterback for my pick.
Coach? I didn't even mention Paul Chryst, dude. This guy has an entire culture built around him.
Okay, hey, I'll talk about this team I'm about to pick has a better coach than him as well.
You got Ohio State. What are we doing?
Indiana.
Get out. Yeah, okay, fair.
Tom Allen. We are Tom Allen fans on this podcast. You will not disrespect Tom Allen right now, Brandon.
We're Tom Allen stands on this podcast. So.
That's right. And Michael Penix, way better quarterback than Graham Mertz, in my opinion.
False.
Oh my goodness. You were talking about Michael Penix as your breakout player of the year last year before he got hurt.
Well, he was. He had a blip on the radar, Zach. Cool.
What? Oh my goodness. So he scores the game-winning touchdown against Penn State, throws for five hundo on Ohio State in Columbus.
How did Penn State end up last year?
Penn State. I don't care about Penn State.
You just said that you just
They won. They won though. They were the team that set the Oh my gosh. Penn State ended on a 4-game win streak.
Okay, so go ahead and defend yourself, Zach.
Oh my gosh. Listen, it's it. Michael Penix. Okay, so this is gonna be a crazy take. I get it. Right now, going into the Big Ten, Michael Penix is the best quarterback in the Big Ten going down week 1.
Go ahead and clip it, Zach. That's the preview.
No, I mean, I want you to name it. No, I want you to name it. Who's the better quarterback?
Graham Mertz.
No.
Okay. Well.
Mr. I throw for 45 yards against Northwestern.
You loved him after his first game last season. I'll say
he played Illinois. I was a prisoner of the moment. I was blinking Morse code to get saved that episode. He played Illinois. Illinois hired Brett Bielema as their head coach, Brandon. That's how damn bad they were.
Okay.
Listen, Michael Penix is the best quarterback in the Big Ten right now because we don't know what them boys – we don't even know who the starting quarterback is for Ohio State.
That's fair.
And Michigan, let's not even bring them into the conversation. I mean, who are you putting above them? I mean, maybe Tanner Morgan. I guess you can make an argument, but I don't love that argument, especially after last year. But we got the best quarterback, Brandon. We talked, 2 episodes ago, that they solved their 2 biggest issues on their team. 4-star out of Auburn, solving the D-line issue. They get a transfer 5-star running back in Stephen Carr to pick up that running back position. They got studs at the wide receiving position. Tom Allen is prime for a run, and I really think if Ohio State quarterback position isn't worked out, they could make a serious run again at Ohio State for that division.
Okay.
And when I look at the schedule, Brandon, so you're saying – do they have the schedule, Brandon? This is the question. So let's just given the Ohio State game's a toss-up. If they beat Ohio State, do they have enough to get in the playoff hunt? They open up on the road against Iowa. That's a solid win if they pull that one out week 1.
Yeah.
Then they get their non-conference game, Brandon, Cincinnati. You chalking that one up as an impressive win?
Yeah, after last season, yeah.
Yeah, with Desmond Ridder. Then they also have Penn State on the road. Impressive win. So they could have 3, let's just use the college basketball system. That's tier 1 wins.
Okay. Quadrant 1.
Yeah. So, and I mean, really and truly, Brandon, outside of that, are you impressed with Michigan State right now?
No, not at all.
Maryland?
No.
Michigan?
Hell no.
Rutgers?
No.
Purdue? Without Rondell Moore?
No.
Are you sure Minnesota's going to be back after the abysmal year they had?
I'm not sure, but I think they will bounce back as well.
So outside of their 3 of their first 5 games, if they get through the first part of their schedule, they might, even if they lose to Ohio State, have a shot at the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, you have a convincing case, Zach. But
exactly. Indiana is the pick here for the Big Ten for me. Brandon went his obvious route with Wisconsin as the most overlooked team in the Big Ten. But let's get that out there to the Midwest, Brandon. The Big 12. Who is your sleeper team or underrated team in the Big 12?
I'm going to go with a team that really, really, really underperformed last year. A team that I think is going to have a much better offense this year until they parted ways with their offensive coordinator. I'm going to go with Baylor. I think that Baylor is they have to rebound, because if they don't, then Dave Aranda
might be on his way back to LSU.
Oh, God, now I'm kind of hoping for that. But Dave Aranda, he wanted to try his hat at being a head coach. He's going into his second season. I get it. Your first year is in this COVID-riddled season. Of course you are. It is the Big 12, so you played basically a full season anyway. Like I said, they already did part ways with their offensive coordinator after one season. Larry Fedora apparently just isn't going to be allowed to be a coach anywhere. He still doesn't have a job. So he lost his job at the end of last season, still doesn't have one. How the mighty have fallen. He got Southern Miss to their greatest the greatest season in history. Then he went to North Carolina, did fairly well with them, and now what's he doing?
He's going to come on the Bluebloods. He's going to be our college football contributor.
That's right. He's going to be the third part-time host. I'm already the first part-time host. They did hire a new offensive coordinator, though, in Jeff Grimes from BYU. So I think that's a super exciting hire. I think that he's going to really elevate this offense from the depths that they fell to last year. I think they were ranked 117th in the country last year out of 127 teams. That's so bad. That is awful. Charlie Brewer's gone. He transferred away to Utah. So I think that kind of gets Baylor out of this sticky situation with him. He was a 3-year starter, and it's hard to just bench a guy like that. But he went ahead and transferred out. I think that he heard rumors that he was going to be replaced, or maybe he just told straight up, hey, you're not the guy anymore, which good, because he had a really good season in 2019, or fairly not really good. He had a pretty good season in 2019. Last year, he came out and looked like the worst quarterback on the face of the earth. Looked like he forgot how to hold a football. And then I guess that was enough to drive him out. So he's at Utah, which leaves two younger guys in Jacob Zeno and Gary Bohannon in this quarterback battle. And they're two 4-star guys, and I think they have a ton of upside. But lastly, the thing that's going to take not lastly, the last thing on offense, the last thing that's going to propel this team is that Treston Ebner's back, their running back. And he really, I think, came into his own at the end of last season. He was putting on a show. He was really carrying this offense because Charlie Brewer was not doing it. So that's super exciting to look out for, and that's something to keep your eye on. The biggest thing to me for this team, though, is that this defense is going to bounce back with Terrell Bernard coming back from a shoulder injury midseason last year. He really led this defense. I think he was the leader in tackles at the time he got hurt.
Yeah, he was. He still finished third.
Which is, I like that you just knew that off the top of your head. But yeah, so he's coming back. He should be healthy by the beginning of the season, and hopefully he'll have a healthy season this year. And this Baylor team, I think they might not win the Big 12 because Oklahoma still live there. But Baylor is going to outperform what a lot of people think they are.
I like that pick. They weren't one of my two. I had a tough time. I really considered Kansas State due to the Skylar Thompson injury, but I didn't want to try to be too much of a homer. So I went with TCU, the TCU Horned Frogs, as my overlooked team. Brandon, when you look at the way their schedule breaks down, I think they have, if they can get through those two games at Oklahoma, at Iowa State, and just win one of them, I think they have a real good shot at looking at a Big 12 title. Their non-conference draw is Cal, who has to come all the way halfway across the country to TCU. And we're really not sure what Cal is going to be this year. SMU lost a lot of talent after last season, so we're not sure what they're going to be. And then everyone else in the Big 12 has questions. So I think if those two games, Oklahoma, Iowa State, and October 16th and November 27th, Those are going to really determine. And Max Duggan's at quarterback. He's always overlooked, Brandon, but we saw in the Texas game last year, the kid is a gamer. He can win games by himself. I need to see how they replace their safeties with Ardarius Washington and Trevon Merrick headed to the NFL drafts. I want to see what they do there. But we had our interview in the Big 12 in 30 days. I was very convinced on the talent they had in the secondary. And Brandon, my number one thing here, guess who the starting running back is going to be to combine with Max Duggan?
Wait.
Zachary Evans.
I didn't know he was going to be starting this year. He's going to be starting?
Most likely, yep. Apparently, he's been learning the system, and he's primed to go. And I think if you combine Zachary Evans with Max Duggan and that defense, where under Gary Patterson, Brandon, I don't care what the names are on that defense, they're going to play hard. They're going to keep games competitive. And I think TCU could shock a lot of people this year and might be one of those top 3 teams in the Big 12 that people just don't expect. So I really, really like TCU here, but let's move it on out west, Brandon. We're just going from the east to the west here, all the way out to the Pac-12. If you pick USC, you're kicked off the show. Who is your overlooked or underrated team in the Pac-12?
Well, my overlooked team in the Pac-12 is in LA, but it's not USC. It's UCLA. I think the UCLA really benefits from their schedule in part. I know that's tough to say when they end their season with Colorado, USC, and Cal back to back to back, but they do end up having 3 home games to start the season. So they start out in week 0 with Hawaii, not on the island, so that's the win because Hawaii doesn't know how to win off the island. They play LSU on September 4th in week 1. That's going to be a tough game. I'm not going to say LSU is going to win, even though I really want to. It's going to be a tough game.
They're going to win.
Okay, sure. So if they drop that game, what happens next, Zach? They play Fresno State at home. Okay. Dub. That's September 18th because they have a bye week before that. Then they go to Stanford to play. Dub. And it's in California. That's the most important part, Zach. So after that, they have Arizona State, which it's a home game, though.
It's an L.
We don't know.
I know. Put all the money you want.
Okay, then October 9th, which, I mean, we're going to like mid-season here, Zach. That's the craziest thing. They go to Arizona. That's their first game, not in California.
That's a 900-0 win.
Right. So their first away game is a win, right? So then they go play at Washington, which Washington, a lot of people are really high on, I'm sure. Okay. It's an L. They play Oregon at home after that.
Double L. Maybe a triple L. That's like that's a quadruple L.
So I already went through most of their schedule. I'm not going to continue.
With 4 losses.
What I'm getting at is that all their tough games are at home this season. So if they can, channel that energy in, they can maybe just – can you guys tell this is like where my notes started drifting off, like my Adderall was wearing off? I don't take Adderall. But
I'm hurting. My side's hurting, bro. You said I trust Chip Kelly to lose 4 games in his first 5.
So, okay. It's a little bit tough, Zach. I will say it's a little bit tough that the 2 teams they miss in the Pac-12 are Oregon State and Washington State.
Yeah, so, those are definitely 2 dubs.
Yeah, they don't play them, so that's tough. I don't know, man.
It's a bad look for you, bro.
Okay, my biggest thing was the schedule. They play all their They play all their tough games at home. Chip Kelly's really building something there in Westwood that I think a lot of people are overlooking. Even if they do finish with 4 losses, Zach, that's not exactly – you didn't expect UCLA to go 8-4 this season. I did.
I got you, bro. I'm just giving you a hard time. And, I mean, at the end of the season, they were playing outstanding football. They almost beat USC. They were like a play away.
Right. And I don't think Colorado, USC, and Cal are for sure losses. I think those are games that are USC might be a for sure loss. Colorado.
That's the one I kind of like. Ooh, tough take.
Colorado and Cal aren't they aren't for sure losses. Those are more
you
top.
Want Keenan to come on the podcast, but you're saying he's going to lose to UCLA.
Okay, I mean, it's a rivalry game. Things
That's a
happen.
fact.
Okay.
And it was a close game last year. I like giving you a hard time, bro. I like to see you panic a little bit.
Yeah, I know. You see the eyes where I'm like, oh God, Zach said it's not correct. He this guy lives, breathes, sleeps college football. Am I wrong? Like, am I a moron? Whatever.
He said that's why I wear dark colored hoodies, bro. I'm sweating through it right now.
You can tell.
Oh, nah, bro. That's not a bad pick. I considered UCLA. I want to see how they replace Felton, though.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
That's a big thing for me because that was just like that was just like a whole like I don't know what it is. I mean, that's just such a utility player. But for me, man, I was high on this team last year too. I think this is the year that this might be the year USC doesn't win the South.
Wow.
Arizona State.
This guy.
The Sun Devils. Brandon. And it's mostly just because how the schedule lays out, Brandon. You like them against Southern Utah?
Kinda, yeah.
UNLV?
Well, is it basketball in 1990?
Sadly not. It is football in 2021.
Okay, never mind that.
BYU without Zach Wilson.
And without Jeff Grimes, no.
Colorado at home.
That one's tough. That's a tough one. Colorado was good last year, dude. Don't act like they weren't. Don't act like they weren't.
Anyway, they also get USC at home. That is the division game that they're going to have to probably win to get in there. They get it all the way in November. And then, I mean, are you scared of having to go to Oregon State?
No. Well, no, not at all.
No? Are you scared of Washington State?
Not even a little.
You scared of Arizona?
No.
I mean, are you really? I mean, really and truly, there's no one to be scared of. Like, and UCLA, not really sure how they're going to be. Are you scared of Stanford at home?
No,
not really. Everything's like Brandon. This schedule is a joke. You get to avoid arguably the best team in the conference with Oregon.
Yeah,
you get USC at home. The road trip to Utah is kind of tough. I'm not going to lie. That one scares me just a little bit. And the road trip to
quarterback, that doesn't scare me.
Who?
Charlie Brewer at quarterback.
That's true. That's true. And a road trip to Washington scares me a little bit, but we still don't know what their quarterback situation is like, Brandon. So I'm taking Jaden Daniels in his third year starting, Brandon. He only has 3 interceptions in 2 years.
Right.
Pretty damn good for a kid who had to start day one.
Yeah.
They get multiple 4-star recruits. They get some of their highest rated recruits in. And Brandon, they're returning. I think about it's coming out today. So go check that episode next. The Arizona State interview with Doug Holler. I believe it was 21 of the 22 from the defensive 2 deep roster are back.
Okay. I mean, that's wild.
That's pretty stout. And you combine it with that offense where you had some opt-outs that are coming back. The one position, a question mark, is wide receiver. You were 1 point away from beating USC last year, and you probably would have went to the Pac-12 championship. I think Arizona State's being completely overlooked. I think they could be a top 15, maybe even a borderline top 10 team if everything plays out right, Brandon. I really, really am high on Arizona State. And Herm Edwards is kind of do or die for him. If he can't win with this team, I don't know what to tell you.
I think that he can is the thing, and I think that he's a big part of that, Zach. So I don't see a world in which Arizona State fires Herm Edwards this close to hiring him. So
I would be shocked. But let's get to the conference all our listeners care about, shockingly, and that is the SEC, Brandon. Who is your overlooked team? And if it's LSU, you're also kicked off the podcast.
It's not. I couldn't do LSU. That was like one of my stipulations. Like I would not let myself do USC. I would not let myself do LSU. I will let myself. You
let yourself do Wisconsin?
I can do Wisconsin. That's fine. We eating dubs.
That might be worse than LSU, to be honest.
So that's the thing. Like people have been questioning me. Like Brandon, are you actually a Wisconsin fan? Maybe. I don't know. We're gonna find. Maybe I have a jersey. Maybe
you got to get some merch, bro. You got to get some merch.
If Wisconsin wins the national championship this year, I'll get a Bucky the Badger tattoo. I'm straight up. Straight
Bet. I'm holding you to that. Clip this
fine.
on our social media. He's got to get a Badger tattoo if Wisconsin goes on and wins the national championship.
Let's do it. So for the SEC, and don't get things twisted right now because this team still sucks. And no matter how bad LSU is, they're going to beat this team. Arkansas. Arkansas, I think, is a team that a lot of people are overlooking. They had a couple of big strides last season, and they were a lot better than a lot of people expected them to be. That's hard. That's not hard to do when the season before you finish 119th in the country out of 127 teams. So when they finished last season at I think 38th in the country, people were surprised. Obviously, they finished 80 spots ahead of where they finished the previous season. Sam Pittman's coming to his second year. I feel like a lot of my list is just this coach is coming into this year, but that's how I feel. Sam Pittman has shown us that he's a legitimately good coach. And where did Arkansas, Zach, where did you see a lot of their weaknesses last year? And the O-line, I think, is the main thing for me anyway.
Yeah.
They're returning all 5 starters, which if their O-line struggled last season, maybe not that great, but I think there's going to be a lot of improvement there, Zach. They've had a full offseason to work with Sam Pittman, who is an O-line coach by trade. Now he's the head coach. I think he's going to have them beefed up just a little bit. I think he's going to have them a little bit better trained. Yes, they're losing Felipe Franks this year, who I think played better last season than he ever did at Florida. Mm-hmm. But he's being replaced by KJ Jefferson. This kid that we've all been looking forward to. He's 6'5", 240, huge quarterback, huge, even bigger arm, a ton of potential. I see nothing but upside from him. Yes, he lacks some experience, but this upside is just unreal, Zach. I'm not saying buy stock right now. I'm not a financial advisor, but maybe buy stock right now because even if he doesn't live up to or not even expectations, there are no expectations for him as a thing. Even if he doesn't win SEC Player of the Week ever, doesn't matter. Who expected KJ Jefferson to do that? I think he's a ton of upside. So if he ever does win that accolade, if he ever does lead Arkansas to over 500 this season, he's going to be a really good quarterback is what I'm saying. So I think Arkansas is really overlooked at this point. I'm not going to say they're going to have as good of a season as they did last year, but I think they're going to perform better than a lot of people think they will.
I like the pick. I don't mind it. Man, I had there's 2 teams. Could I cheat and give an honorable mention first?
Sure.
LSU is my honorable mention.
Thank you, Zach. I needed that.
I mean, a lot of predictions had them finishing 3rd, maybe even 4th on some predictions. I think this team could be 2nd, a step behind Alabama. And if things go right, why can't they beat Alabama?
Well,
they've done it before.
Can I speak to this a little bit, Zach? Because
yes, go ahead.
I think that this quarterback battle is blossoming something incredible in Baton Rouge. I think that between Max Johnson and Miles Brennan, we're going to see this competition bring the best out of one of them, and we're going to see a really, really good quarterback come fall. And not to mention, I had to bring up the head coach in every single situation here. Coach O's on a silent hot seat right now. People aren't really talking about it. But if he has another 500 season, you don't think maybe he's gone? I think that's a possibility. People are going to be pissed off if LSU goes 500 2 seasons in a row after not going 500 for over 20 years. So I think LSU has a lot to play for this upcoming season. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I mean the road game. The UCLA game week 1 could be tough going all the way across the country, but I think LSU is better than UCLA at every position. They get Auburn at home, guaranteed dub. They get Florida at home. That's going to be a real tough trip for the Gators with Emory Jones, who hasn't been a starting quarterback before. They do go to Alabama. That's always going to be tough. But regardless if you've got to travel to Bryant-Denny or they're coming to Death Valley, it's always a tough game. And they get Texas A&M at home, which could be a pivotal game to determine who gets that 2nd spot in the SEC West. So I think LSU, the schedule sets up nicely. I'm a believer in whichever quarterback they tried out there to play. I want to see the running back step up, man. I was so unimpressed with the rushing attack last year, man. It was god awful. And I think it had to do with a little bit of inconsistent offensive line play. So I want to see how they gel down the stretch, just another year together. The running backs are talented, man. They just have to produce. The wide receiving unit stacked like always. The defensive line, the linebackers, the secondary. The secondary might be the best in the country, just in terms of pure overall talent. So I think LSU is being slightly overlooked. But my number one team, man, this episode is like a full episode for the 2-minute drill. Should have broken this topic down into multiple episodes. But hey, it's Friday, man. Y'all got nothing better to do. End your week off with 2 big Blue Bloods episodes. But Brandon, it's Ole Miss.
Okay.
Right now, after seeing A&M spring game like that, I wouldn't be surprised if Ole Miss finishes above A&M or LSU.
I'd be surprised.
I think they got. I think Matt Corral's a better quarterback than anything A&M's got right now.
Yeah.
I think he's a step below what LSU might have, but I think he's more explosive than what they have.
Yeah, I can see that.
And in today's world of college football, Brandon, you can get by with a below average to average defense. You just have to have the offense, and they might have the second or third best offense in the SEC right now.
That's fair enough, Zach. I mean, Lane Kiffin's really doing his thing in Oxford, and that's hard for me to say. I hate Ole Miss, but he's Ole Miss is the most hateable school in the SEC besides Alabama. And honestly, when we go back to like bad Alabama in the early 2000s, and now we have bad Ole Miss might be the most hateable team in the SEC for sure.
Facts. I mean, and Brandon, the way their schedule lines up is perfect. They get Louisville and Atlanta. I'm not sure what Louisville is going to be this year, but they lost a lot of talent. They get Austin Peay and Tulane week 2 and 3. They should be able to win those games. The road trip to Alabama October 2nd is big, but Brandon, they get a bye week right in front of it. You don't think Lane Kiffin is going to use that bye week to his advantage?
He will, and Lane Kiffin kind of knows what's going on in Alabama, probably.
Yeah. And look at their other road games, Brandon. At Tennessee scare you much this year?
No, not at all.
At Auburn with the first-year head coach and questions surrounding everything?
Maybe, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
At Mississippi State?
Not at all. Not even a little bit.
And then you get Vandy. That's this W. And then you get LSU and A&M at home. That's huge. That's a huge break that those two teams have to come to Oxford. And Brandon, after the Bama game and the LSU game and the A&M game, their fourth toughest game, shockingly, comes November 6th to me. Liberty.
Okay. Hey, we have to face an old head coach.
They have to face Hugh Freeze. And Brandon, everyone's been saying Malik Willis might be the best quarterback in the country to some experts.
Wow. Okay.
There's people saying Malik Willis might be the number 1 quarterback drafted next year.
That's wild to me. I can see him being like, if you told me first round, I'd be like, okay, maybe. First,
I forget who it is. It was someone from Pro Football Focus said that he thinks he's going to make a Trey Lance jump this year.
I thought you were going to say like Skip Bayless said it, or
it was. I think it was Anthony something for Pro Football Focus. I'll look it up and I'll update you all in the next episode. But I like Ole Miss's schedule. I love what Lane Kiffin brings. He's going to have the confidence against anyone. And if any coach in the SEC, if there's any coach in the SEC other than Kirby Smart that I have any faith in maybe upsetting Alabama, it's Lane Kiffin, man.
Right.
He almost did it last year with a terrible team.
Yeah, that's true.
They're so much more talented. I love Matt Corral, love Lane Kiffin. The Ole Miss, are they still the Rebels, or do we have to call them the Land Sharks?
I think they're the Rebels. I don't know.
Okay. The Rebels, maybe, question mark. The Ole Miss, question mark, Rebels are my overlooked team in the SEC, with LSU as an honorable mention. Brandon picked the Arkansas Razorbacks. So, guys, comment below. We offered y'all a 3-for-1 on the 2-minute drill this episode. Comment below and let us know who your overlooked team is in every Power 5 conference. Love to hear y'all's opinion. But, guys, from this episode, go check out our interview with Doug Holler from Arizona State. It was a great interview. Shout out to him for coming and dropping all kind of knowledge about Arizona State football. So check that out. And of course, our boy Akil Glass was on the podcast yesterday. Make sure to go check that out. You're not going to want to miss that one. But guys, I won't use up any more of y'all's Friday. Y'all have a great weekend. We're coming back Monday with our Oregon episode for Pac-12 in 31 days and another 2-minute drill. So make sure to check both of those out. But for our boy B-Dub, myself, the 2-minute drill, and the Blue Bloods, we are out.